My, na My name is Choly. I'm going to be your moderator today. So I'm co-founder and CEO of REP. It's a reputation protocol directly in the intersection of AI and blockchain, cross-platform, and design for humans and AI agents. We spent like 1 year building this. We faced millions of users, so I'm personally very excited about this conversation. And our topic is intersections of AI and blockchain. So it's going to be coordination, identity, execution, governance, and more. I would love to start from introduction of our panelists because there is a leading people from the companies that shape this future and the people who contribute to new primitives in the intersect of AI. So let's start from Eunice.
Hi everyone, I'm Eunice, co-founder and GM of Monad Foundation. Monad Foundation is the team behind Monad, a new blockchain that's actually launching mainnet in 8 days. So we've got a lot of work to do. Thank you. But we're super excited, and I think this is going to be the start of something pretty amazing. We also feel that the technology that Monad brings is going to be really an opportunity to advance what AGI looks like on chain, and also facilitate more of a composable future.
Hi guys, it's great to be here. Marco from MetaMask. I'm focused on AI, which means understanding how the wallet can be by far easier to be adopted by the average people out there that are not in crypto right now, thanks to AI-enabled interfaces. And I'm also like very excited and focused, especially in the last few months, on agentic economies. So in a phase that I think it's very early, it's too early for agents, which are like the primitives in terms of infra that we need to care about to make sure that those economies are open, interoperable, everybody can get in and express their creativity of builders in terms of building agents, selling and buying services in open economies.
Hi everybody, I'm Paul. I'm going to wiggle a little bit. If you're over there and you want to listen, come on and sit down. I am a product architect, whatever the hell that is, at Say. I'm a software engineer. And I've been working in crypto for a long time. At Say, I mostly try to make sure that we're staying on the bleeding edge of building cool things. We've been working in the super fast blockchain EVM space for a while now, and the question is, what are the use cases that actually are necessary for that, and what are the ones that take this to the next level? Clearly, this AI infrastructure use case is potentially very, very interesting, whether that's bringing payments on chain, agentic coordination, or a bunch of other use cases, and love to talk about that with these smart people today, including Lincoln.
Thank you for that intro. Hey everyone, I'm Lincoln. Thank you all for coming. I'm the product lead for Coinbase's AI initiatives, including AgentKit and X402. X402 is basically a new payment standard for the internet. We think now's the time for stablecoin payments to pervade across the internet and change the way that we interact, primarily led by agents using them for all sorts of different interactions. So happy to dive into that and everything else here today.
What's up, everyone? I'm Francesco. I'm leading developer relations at Consensys, and I'm also contributing to different DAOs. One of that is called MotherDAO, and we're trying to basically like solve different things around coordination and reputation around agents. And I'm excited about actually speak about this panel and around everything around the A004, X402, and yeah, a big shout out. And it's a great pleasure to be in a panel with actually my colleague Marco here, one of the co-authors of A004.
Thank you, guys. You have a very wide range experience, and I would love to ask these questions. The recent idea is cryptography finally has a new use case. It's to, I would say, solve coordination of AI. And what do you think personally, what's the most important part of cryptography which can affect significantly on the AI ecosystem currently? Let's start from Francesco.
I'm definitely not the right person to ask like, which part of a cryptography. That's I let you guys.
I mean, any, because like crypto is very wide, AI is very wide, and let's say I think the reputation and coordination is like what can improve these ecosystems. But yeah, but it's like
we need transparency, right? We need transparency around performance of not just agents and humans, and they need to be fully open source and public. And I think making decision will be harder, especially we're building not just economy for humans, but also for agent to interact with other agents. So having a very transparent track record need to come also with transparency in the trust effect, and trust effect is only be done through attestation and reputation fundamentals. Yeah.
I think one of the really nice unlocks of cryptography and like public-private key pairs is the ability to give an agent access to a wallet. and have it have the autonomy to spend funds, but more importantly, be spun up by anyone, anywhere in the world without having to go through an arduous KYC process or be reliant on these existing legacy payment rails. What it really enables is like this permissionless way to cryptographically prove that you're storing value and you have access to that value, and then composing it across, whatever applications make sense, whether that be payments, DeFi, something else entirely that we're not thinking of. That to me feels like a pretty big unlock here, is using that cryptographic piece as like an identity and value transfer mechanism for agents.
I agree with that. I have a sci-fi story here, and the sci-fi story we're all being told is that the economy is going to move into an autonomous future, right? If you listen to Satya Nadella, he says that Microsoft is no longer a software company that humans use. It's a company that has infrastructure that powers agents, right? And so if I look at that world, I think there's a huge risk. And we've already run this risk over the past 10 years. It is that we centralize the operation of that economy through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 big companies. Over the last 10, 12 years, we did that through Apple and Google in the United States. They built app stores and they took control of the innovation of a whole sector for 10 years, ruining the ability of many people to build the businesses that they wanted to build. I think that doing this in AI is a huge existential risk to our economy and to us as an industry. And the best thing that we can do with cryptography right now is focus on interesting hardcore protocols such as privacy, which will allow us to use infrastructure without giving up all of our IP and business models to a corporate conglomerate that will kill us all. That's all.
I think it's like crucial to divide between cryptography and blockchains. Cryptography isn't looking for use cases, as so many already. And in terms of AI, the fact that it will be possible to create any possible fake thing, literally anything, any job role, profession, person, newspaper, image, hybrid reality, will really make signatures like one of the most powerful technologies that humans will use. We can't verify signatures with our eyes, so we'll have like very trusted local devices that will become crucial to interact with all the reality that we have around us. And also, yes, I agree, ZKP to prove to AI is just what you want to share, for example, just attributes of your identity without sharing your full identity is a thing. While if we move to blockchains, the answer is for sure agentic economies. We discussed already today about payments, but also having a permissionless distributed catalog of identities that is not controlled by Mr. App Store that decide which agents you can use is a great use case enabled by blockchains, and that's, for example, one of the aspects that 8004 is trying to tackle.
I think I'm probably going to mirror a lot of what has already been said here as well, where the AIs that are more popular today with Open AI, using Claude, GPT, whatever, like those are all pretty closed source for the most part. We don't really know what the inputs are for those models. And bringing agents on chain, bringing LLMs or SLMs on chain, are differentiated in a manner that you can actually trust by verifiability, or certain points of attestation for where data comes from, or completion of said actions that are derived from the calculations of what these agents are doing. I'm going to give a quick plug to 42, which is a project that's building on Monad. And they're using decentralized inferencing. So they have basically deployed unique nodes on Monad, each with its own unique small language model. And when a query comes in, that query then gets distributed to a handful of all these nodes. These nodes provide some sort of answer, and depending on it synthesizes the best result based off all of these independent node answers to then funnel discovery for what the original prompt was. And you have insight into where that result came from. You have insight into that LLM itself. So these are things that we can now enable using blockchain technology instead of trusting something that's a little bit more centralized.
Yeah, I mean, as we see, there is like a lot of different opinions, like what's the most important, and it's like beautiful of this topic because I mean, there is many use cases, but overall we going to agentic future, and I think personally that without like blockchain, it isn't possible to operate this agentic economy because we'll have like much more users than currently in the internet, and we should like build some kind of like trusted foundation. Okay, let's switch topic to the execution of this intersection. So, how you personally define execution? Is it computation, decision making, or governance between AI and crypto? Let's start from you, Eunice.
I think execution could be really anything that happens on chain. So it could be a combination of all of those things. Computation. What was the second one? Right, yes, computation, governance, or decision making. It seems that the majority of what execution happens right now tends to be within the compute world. And that's maybe also because of the way in which we can learn how to trust things that are operating on a non-human behalf. In some ways, I kind of think about the adoption of agents and bigger types of agents, the same way that there's a lot of hesitancy around self-driving cars. And it's like one of those things that maybe just requires more and more people to feel comfortable with it and to know that in the case of certain edge cases, the algo or whatever is being codified will make the right decision. So with compute, that's more of just like a dissemination or like you're triaging and delegating work, whereas for something that requires decision making, well, there's an output and an action on behalf of that work. And then with things that are more governance related, then that might also include a bilateral movement of communication, decision making, and so on. So it might be a slow step forward from more compute to then working our way to things that are a little bit more complex.
Yeah, each part of a stack can be approached in a decentralized way if we want, and I don't want now to dig into this. What I think it's important to highlight is that we think we are in a new world, but the menaces that we are in front of us are exactly the moats of Web 2. Nothing has changed. So the big moats in this phase are who controls the interface, who controls distribution, who controls data. The fact that we click yes, we connect a given interface to our MCPs in terms of data, and then we can't move just because the lock-in is high, because we can move data exactly as we weren't moving from booking.com or gmail.com. So nothing has changed. And so the kind of challenges that we have in front of us, short term, it's stuff like data portability for our context that we use for our conversation. Long term is more advanced stuff like distributed reputation when it comes to the client-side tool that checks signatures I was mentioning earlier. It's the same thing. How can we make sure that the data that prevents the decision maker, which are the user, to move from one service to another is portable on open platforms that are privacy preserving and not controlled by somebody that need to accept to move? It's the same old story.
Execution. Is execution computation or decision making? Is consciousness computable? It's kind of this question. Do we know the answer to that? We don't. Right now, we're really just dealing with the computation side of it, and we're hoping we can get to decision making, right? Again, in the Satya Nadella world, computers won't be used by humans. They'll be interfaced by these like agent situations. As it stands today, I don't think the computer can really use itself. I don't know if any of you have used these tools. They really suck. They lie to you all the time still. I know they're getting better, but we're still very much in the realm of computation. I very much agree that making sure that there's sovereignty over what is being executed, verifiability and privacy, ownership of data is going to be really important to making sure that if we get to that world, it's the world we want to get to. And I just had another idea, which is maybe Meta should put like public key like verification in the glasses so you can see signatures.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't
right?
really
Would that be cool?
Imagine
Like if you could just
dancing in
actually
front of
see
you.
cryptographic signatures and be like, yeah, shit, that's right.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember the original question, but just kind of riffing off what everyone said. Yeah, I think like The interesting thing about the agents is that it is taking this decision-making component, and even if it's not perfect today, like we're having to play this strange game of like, okay, what is it going to look like in 10 years? And then what are the things that we actually need in the next 6 months to make that happen? And what are the things that, oh, we didn't realize that we actually needed, but an enterprise needs, like privacy or data security or all these different things that actually drive adoption. And I think one of the roles that we have in the crypto space specifically that has previously been a massive rabbit hole that everyone falls down is this just like constant game of building out infrastructure and all of these different tools because, oh, eventually we're going to need to do this and do that and whatever. But the reality is the only way that we get to those places is by showing that today there exists compelling apps and use cases that, yeah, you do have to do some hand-wavy stuff around, verifiability or other things. But we have the path to go forward. And building the things today and having those practical use cases, I think is the best way to very quickly elucidate what those immediate infrastructure pieces are that we can start to build out, like reputation, for example, or like identity and all of these different components that we're starting to see now take the main stage.
I can tell you're a product manager. What's the use case and who's the customer?
Perfect.
I want to tackle the governance side, but I think the paradigm is basically like the same old one. We are trying to solve like social coordination at scale, and how this is done will be through kind of peer review and reputational feedback. And I think like this is not really going away. How we are doing it, obviously, is through kind of like specific proofs. But I think the game is just changing because we see the potential of agent-to-agent coordination and how those services can evolve to be usable also for different services. But right now there is, I mean, ASIO is bringing that, right? But there was no really standards around those coordinations.
Thank you. My next question, what we need to improve in blockchain industry right now to support AI agents at scale? Shall it be kind of like new protocols, or we shall support more transactions per second? How we can scale cryptography to achieve this agentic future?
I feel like the political answer that I have to say because of Monad is throughput.
Make it faster, right?
Throughput, that's the solution.
That's how I should say it for Say too. More transactions, good.
I mean, it is true. More transactions can be good, but more transactions in and of themselves isn't going to be the solution. There has to be other things as well. So maybe scalability from like all angles would be the answer here. On the note of throughput, though, it is true that, I mean, we just talked about like agents right now are predominantly compute heavy. And even going forward when things become a little bit more decision oriented, like there's still going to be a lot of computation that's required of it. So in that sense, yes, like throughput actually is a very easy and seemingly obvious answer.
Yeah, I don't think we need throughput to make agents more intelligent. The throughput that they have, are not using it all yet. And it's not even actually just protocols as what we are focusing on right now. So agents are just not good now in interacting with other agents for a very simple reason. It's not what they have been trained on. So AI are just have been trained on like a selected subset of stolen stuff on the internet, but, and books written by humans. And humans
reading Reddit doesn't make you a good agent-to-agent communicator.
Yeah, human don't describe coordination. Coordination data set are like I do A, somebody else do B, the output is C. We don't have data set like that. So what we're doing right now is actually putting the roots to start creating the data sets. And there are so many papers over the last 6 months focused on how much doing reinforcement learning on agents improve the interaction of agents with other agents. So we are just at the very beginning. And until we solve that, we will not even have agentic economies. How can you have an economy if every agent can be exploited very easily? So that's I think, even more interesting than thinking about what the current stupid agents can do in the current economies.
My job is to think a little bit further in the future than Lincoln, which is it's a good combination, right? So from my perspective, the place that we're sitting right now is similar to where blockchains were in 2019, when we started throwing money on ZK, and people were like, that shit'll never work, it's too expensive, and now it's 2015, and like it actually works, right? And so there's a bunch of cryptography that we have been working on for a long time, fully homomorphic encryption, for instance, as a utility to create better privacy in model execution and some verifiability means that like that's a world that we want to get to, but we actually need to spend the money to get there. The nice thing about it is this time around we can do it without being afraid that the US government is going to put us in prison because, well, at least we hope so, right? And so I think that those areas, really making them fast, really looking at them, which is like the realm of 300 nerds, is one of the most important things we can be doing. And I love that this industry allows us to invest in it.
Thinking about it from like the X402 angle and like what the things that crypto can uniquely enable are, I'm of the belief that like eventually, and I think everyone here is that like stablecoins and blockchain and crypto and all this stuff like makes sense in theory, but there's this practical step of like how do you make it so easy for everyone to use that nobody even realizes they're using that. And I think that's one of the very unique roles that agents play, is it's really the first time that you see the benefits of crypto and payment rails abstracted away from the user so that they don't have to worry about like having some sort of onboarding process and KYC into an exchange and then getting a wallet and going through all of that. They can just deposit money into an agent. That agent can then go off and use that crypto to do whatever it wants, pay whoever anybody around the world, whatever. And to actually realize that initial flow of getting people crypto and getting them involved in the space, the real question for all of these builders is like, what are the compelling services that you can just make available via crypto and via these payment rails? One of my hot takes probably is that I think we'll start to see over the next 5 to 10 years that like crypto as a core component of a business does not actually make sense. It is an enabler of new market participants or like more efficient execution of these existing services. But the most valuable services and the ones that provide the most adoption to the crypto space are going to be enterprises that are just like, oh yeah, we flipped a switch and now all of our payments are happening on the back end via crypto and whatnot. So I think agents in some sense help to accelerate that, given they're all using back end wallets and it's all abstracted away from the user.
I think your question is a bit also like, what is needed in the next 6 to 12 months, right? And this is not a critique. I don't think scalable throughput will change much things, right? Yes, it will be running different execution on different levels, but on the agent side, even before A004, I've been doing maybe I was around 80 live stream with agent founders, right? And everybody, majority of those were all forks of ELIZA. And then I started to actually think about, hey, there is no standard, everybody's building. Same with like the NFT waves where people were not following specific ERC and you could not move a variable NFT from an OpenSea marketplace, right? And then I actually thought about, even before solving the scalability side, we need standards. We have now standards for payments, right? But what about all other specific DeFi use case? I'm seeing around, and in the room there were some like, liquidity, liquidity pool rebalancer agents. Like there is at least 20 companies doing the same, completely with different standards. And when we're starting to speak about renting agents, they are doing, for example, this specific use case. Today we don't define specifics around how and what are those endpoints and how they can communicate.
I have a hot take, and this is, we'll see. So in the world where we have AI systems that can kind of programmatically and autonomously interact with everything else, do we need a standard, or don't they just figure out how to use that API? I mean, I would hope that they could figure out how to use some slightly different smart contract, right? So this is a place where I wonder, it's like, is the standard at the level at which we're making it, or is there some other thing that we're actually talking about here?
So I don't know, maybe the standard name is not right, what I'm trying to kind of like communicate here. I'm speaking about standardizing endpoints, how those agents are actually communicating with themselves, right? What information are giving.
This is like the discovery of each other kind of side of the problem? Okay. I think agentic discovery is a huge problem, by the way, and blockchains are actually quite good at solving that because we solve data dissemination and verifiability and all the other things that you need in order to make sure that works, along with censorship resistance as well.
Yep. Hi guys, let's switch to the identity and reputation topic because I think we still not solved human identity, but we already switched into agentic identity, and let's focus on attestations, on-chain proofs. How you define what's the difference between human identity and the AI agent identity, even in the case, for example, when AI agent acting on behalf of human? Let's start from you, Eunice.
I feel like I should pass this over to Marco first, and then I'll come back.
I've seen up to now 2 different approaches possible. One is to try to derive the fact that I'm human from something that it's biological in me. So Workcoin is one of example of that. And I'm skeptical. I think that everything can be copied. So Workcoin security is partly based on the fact that the orb is not, etc., etc. I'm more on the other side, which is that what makes me human is that you think I'm human. And this will become more and more true while we'll have hybrid humans, because now I don't have any computer attached to my body, but this will soon change. So I'm very excited about this. And identity will stay, will evolve in one of those 2 directions. We'll still have attestation from sovereign states. I think we're not going in a binary world, but they will just be more efficient and digital. We'll have ZKP to prove to adult website in Europe that you are more than 18 years old. While the new real thing is reputation. So reputation historically hasn't worked in an aggregated way. So now if you think it's very inefficient, I call a friend and say should I hire that guy? Or the most efficient thing that the humanity did in terms of reputation is in finance for sure, and then to pick restaurants on Google Maps. That's it. Why? Because humans are just bad in aggregating in real time a lot of data. We're not good at that. And so my bet is that agentic stuff and agents are the trigger for reputation for just one stupid reason. Agents are very good in putting together reputation signals. Human were not. And so we will trust agents to do that, similar to what Lincoln was saying. So maybe we'll not interact with all this data set, and agents will do that for us.
I have another interesting take here, which is that I think verifiability, it's interesting at the agent identity level, and it's going to be necessary for a bunch of reasons. But there's something that we are missing right now, which is that currently all of these agents are running on computers somewhere. And we do precious little to verify that those computers are doing what we think they're doing today. And there is a very big risk of attack at that level in a way that would be really very difficult for us to determine at the scale that we're talking about, hopefully getting to with agents. So I think a very core piece of verifiability is going to come down to understanding how we know that at a hardware software level, we've actually done what we said we did. ZK proofs are an example of this, but also privacy technologies, et cetera.
On that point, I do often wonder if a reputation-based system will be sufficient for the short term for these agents to do interactions. In the same way I can go on eBay and or Amazon even, and reviews are what are truly informing whether or not I make a purchase, as opposed to some true verifiability or the guarantee that I can get a refund from Amazon. But I think more related to the question, the only note I have about that is one of the very interesting things that we've seen as we're trying to get enterprises to adopt X402 and talking to their teams directly is that they don't necessarily have a problem with stablecoin adoption. What they do have a problem with is losing access to a lot of the data around their consumers. So there's been several different entities who were blocked by their finance teams from adopting X402 because they wanted something like an email address or a country code or something to identify agents. And though the general consensus is that this isn't strictly necessary to accept a payment, these legacy systems that are used to having these things, I think need to be bridged with some sort of agent identity or human linkage that's going to have to be in there somewhere.
How are you handling invoicing?
Do what?
Invoicing.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah, there's a million different issues that need to be rebuilt.
It's it all comes down to what the schema of some Oracle database from 1988 was.
Even claims, right? Claims for insurances, claims for everything. I don't have much things to say apart. We are 30 minutes, 30 seconds.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.